Crews in Southern California have made more progress in controlling deadly wildfires in the Los Angeles area, thanks to a break in those strong winds as well as cooler temperatures. The Palisades fire, which is the largest one burning right now, is about a third contained as of this afternoon. In the northern part of the county, the Eden fire has reached 65% containment. The smaller Otto fire in Ventura County is about 85% contained. CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez is in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood with the latest. Andres, while there's been good news on the containment front, some dangerous weather conditions could return next week. What can you tell us?
There is, Lindsay. Another batch of those Santa Ana winds are expected to sweep through the area beginning on Monday. The National Weather Service did say that next week is a concern. They don't anticipate there being the same conditions they're confident that they saw last week. However, dangerous fire weather conditions are expected. That's driven by the fact that there has been no rain, and there is no rain forecasted in the immediate short term. And there hasn't been any measurable rainfall in the last 8 months. And so all of this dry brush and vegetation can act as fuel for any fire that were to spark up. But on the flip side here is that if there is any moderate rainfall, there could be the possibility of landslides that could happen. And flash flooding could also back up the drainage systems. That's something that right now crews are trying to get a handle of to prevent debris from flowing through the streets of Los Angeles.
And we're learning that some mandatory evacuation zones have been partially opened. Where are they and who's being allowed in?
So some residents in Altadena have been able to return to their homes. Here in the Palisades area, they were able to lift some of the evacuation restrictions on the northern and eastern edge of the disaster zone. Where we're at, essentially ground zero, they're telling us that it'll be at least a week. Right now, there are still assessments that are taking place as far as damage. The EPA crews are going around trying to figure out what hazardous material needs to get removed before those folks can make it back in. And utility crews, as we speak, are right now making repairs to some of the infrastructure.
So you mentioned one of the potential risks and why some people aren't being allowed back, and that is some hazardous materials. What are some other risks?
Yeah, well, really, the environmental risk is the primary one, Lindsay. It's all the ash that has been collected, but also remember the materials that burned in this fire, right? We're talking about the pesticide, the gasoline, the electric batteries that they're trying to figure out how to dispose of properly. So all of this are part of the discussions that are happening as the cleanup process and the rebuilding process begins here in Los Angeles.
Are you hearing anything from officials about anything special they're doing to prepare for these winds picking back up? Here at 2 o'clock, local time, we're anticipated to hear an announcement from Mayor Karen Bass. She's expected to talk more about the recovery efforts. So far, they have been able to help out around 700 families at one of the disaster zones, recovery centers that they have been able to set up. But again, she's expected to make a major announcement on the rebuilding process here at 2 o'clock local time. Okay, thank you so much, Andres Gutierrez. And the wildfires in California have burned through some 60 square miles, an area bigger than the city of Paris. Officials say the fires have killed at least 27 people. More than 1,200 structures have been destroyed. Rob Marciano has more on some of the challenges still facing residents and crews, including a new threat.
As crews improve containment on the Palisades and Eaton fires, there's a new concern. The water used by firefighters may have led to scenes like this. A home in Pacific Palisades, lucky to survive the fire, then splitting completely in half.
The infrastructure under thousands of homes have been compromised.
The saturated grounds along hillsides have become unstable and threaten the ability for some residents to return.
These workers are digging down to get to the gas line. They need to shut it down, seal it off, so it's safe for residents to come back. And this has to happen in neighborhoods throughout the fire zone.
It hadn't really sunk in yet that our whole entire community would be wiped off the map.
Andrew Rowe lost his home in the fire. He and his dog Henry moved into this house 1 year ago and was finally wrapping up renovations when dark smoke began to engulf the entire neighborhood.
There's only 2 ways out of the Palisades, and it was a gridlock, and I thought I thought I was going to die. So I'd actually called my parents in case I wasn't going to make it out.
And what did you say to them at that moment?
I just said, I love you. And if I don't make this out alive, like, I love you.
Roe's been dealing with the shock and grief by writing down his thoughts right after evacuating in a journal.
And the first thing you say, number one, I am not a victim.
Yeah.
And you believe that. That's your mindset right now.
I mean, I've suffered loss, but having a victim mindset is another thing, and it's uprooted my life. I'm not going to wallow in self-pity when I've been blessed so much.
Just an incredible story there from Rob. As we mentioned earlier, a polar vortex is expected to bring freezing temperatures across the U.S. starting this weekend. CBS News New York meteorologist John Elliott has the forecast.
It's relatively quiet today, but buckle up. Big changes in the works. Some showers in South Texas. Also a little bit more activity in South Florida. And then watch what happens. Temperatures are mild for your Friday. Not in Siberia. All of this cold air is just going to cascade out of Canada and into your backyard. Watch what happens during the course of the weekend. Jet stream brings in the cold air. Now this is Sunday. This is going to pose a real potential headache for parts of the mid-Atlantic. That's New York up into Boston, where rain on Saturday will turn to plowable snow on Sunday. Oh, wait, we're not done. It gets even colder on Monday with that cold all the way down to the Gulf. And this is some dangerous cold. I mean, you look at wind chills Saturday and Sunday well below zero. This is the kind of scenario where you're going to be lucky if it feels like it's above zero. And all of this cold air continues to migrate farther to the south. So savor your Friday. Some really challenging weather in the works next week.